Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about a couple of things in Throne and Liberty. So basically, a couple of days ago, me and my guildmates, we were discussing a couple of things about the game and how some things are just pretty much ridiculous. Let's be honest. So one of the thing is basically the action house. They're just gonna go right in. So the action house in Throne and Liberty is basically a pay-to-win function. So the only way to use it is if you have Lucent, and Lucent is actually a currency that you can buy with real money. So in a way, it's a full pay-to-win function, and the only way to trade amongst other players, which generally that's ridiculous. Any other game that had tried something like that had failed and either changed the whole thing or actually just died out. But either way, I think that's a really easy fix. I believe they will change it eventually because right now, if you have real money, you can just buy a lot of the end game stuff, basically just with real money, which reminds me of private servers. So if you ever played on a private server in games like World of Warcraft, you know, they don't have any way of making money because it's free to play there. So that's why they create those in-game stores where you can buy things with real money. And it makes sense because they're basically, it's basically a piracy. But for official game, it's really ridiculous to have that. And in a way, you can actually trade with other people. You don't have direct trading in Throne and Liberty. And the only way to trade is using real money. So I would use Guild Wars 2 as a comparison. They also have currency that you can buy with real money. But at the same time, you can trade gold from in-game to this currency, which is called gems. And you can buy just about anything from the store. But and it's not a problem. But in Throne Liberty, not only that you can't do that, but also you literally don't have action house. I mean, the action house is tied to real money. So in Guild Wars 2, you have the action house, which is called trading post, and you can trade just about anything really. I mean, almost anything you can trade there with in-game currency, which is gold. Here is Solan, but it's basically it's the same. And it's just fine. And on top of that, you still have the way to convert gold to gems and buy almost anything from the store, which you still have a store in here as well, which is this shop here. You can buy anything with, you can buy a lot of things. It's mostly cosmetic stuff, but still. Anyway, so the currency, Lucent, costs about, let's say, 500 for 10 euro, and so on and so on, which is not, it's probably very similar in terms of value like in other games, like let's say Guild Wars 2. I think you get like, for about 10 euro, you get like 800 gems. But nonetheless, you can just trade it for in-game gold. Vice versa, you can do it both ways. You can buy gold with gems, and you can buy gems with gold. But you can also just buy gems with real money. So in a way, Guild Wars 2 is also kind of a pay to win. But in the end of the day, most of the things there are pretty much the same. If you think about it, most of the things here are basically cosmetic stuff. That's Hornet coins anyway. So it's not a big deal, right? But the major problem comes from the actual action house, right? You should be able to trade with other people. This is like a core function of MMORPG game. Like MMO stands for Massive Multiplayer Online. So obviously you want to interact with other people, not just to see them and play with them. Like, right, there's just a lot of people here. So what? You're just looking at them. It's a lobby. Basically, that's a lobby. Let's be real. And then you just play in other areas with those people. So on. But really, what you want to be doing is you want to be trading with those people because they have different access to different content, and maybe you don't have access to every single part of the game, because that's another issue. But we're going to discuss this in a moment. So really easy fix here. I think a lot of people share the same opinion like me. Just make the action house accessible to all players remove the whole Lucent nonsense, honestly, and just set it to gold, right? And then just people can set the price of all these items to Solant, basically not gold, but Solant. And that's it. And then they can decide what is the value of all these items. And obviously with this, there's another issue that I think it's intentionally designed for that same purpose. Basically, there's almost nothing that you can trade in the action house. Like even if you check here, all of these items here, they're non-tradable, okay? So you craft food, most of it is not tradable. You have this thing with success and great success. So you have great success, it's gonna be tradable. I think it's great success. If it's regular success, it's not tradable. That's the only difference. And this, to me, this is just ridiculous. But putting that aside, just if it's not this, then have like everything that you can get from the open world, like all the kinds of drops you can get, like materials, items, things like that. Let's just check out here. You've got a lot of these things here in the storage. Most of those things, if you look down on these items, the icon on the bottom where it's like the action house icon is grayed out. That means you cannot trade it. Basically, a lot of these things, they're mostly just earned by drops. So you just play and do dungeons and all kinds of things. And you cannot trade those things. And not just these, but all the materials. I would say some things, obviously, it's okay to be non-tradable. But you get almost any material, right? You see, it's non-tradable. Okay? So it's not enough to just make the action house use Solant exclusively instead of Lucent, but also make a whole bunch of these items tradable, because even if you just convert it to Solant, it's still useless. Basically, there are a couple of ways to make Lucent in-game. So one of these ways is to either extract the lithograph, which is basically a recipe, that's what it is, from the items, and sell the lithograph. But again, that's just extra steps, and it's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. Like this whole function here, but I don't believe they're gonna change that. But I'm just saying that's pretty ridiculous on its own. And then trait extraction, it's basically serves with the same purpose, right? You just extract trait from an item. Let's just check it out. So let's say you have this item here. Just take it out. So I cannot trade that, obviously. I can't sell it. There's no direct trading either. But let's say I want to sell that. The only way to sell that is if I either extract the lithograph, so the recipe basically, which is on its own, it's pretty expensive anyway. And if you look at the price and all that, I'm just gonna tell you like straight up, the cost for this, because you need to actually have this, that's a requirement. This costs probably either as much as the lithograph itself or even more. So usually it's not even worth it to bother extracting that. And on top of that, you even spent wait a second. You even spent Solant. It's not a little bit. I mean, anyway. And on top of this, so if you want to make probably a bit more money, it's much better to just extract the trait, which costs also trait extraction stones. Yeah, you can farm quite a lot of them. Also costs Solant, but this doesn't really cost that much. Here you see latest price. You can actually check bind resistance. If you check here, search action house, and just to show you how much this would cost. So bind resistance, it's 19 Lucent, and that's ridiculous. And you have a couple of listings, so I mean you can sell it, but it's pretty cheap either way. And you would spend roughly 25 extraction stones. So just imagine, it's been a while to get those over 500 extraction stones. So what, you can get like 20 items. If they cost just like 10, 20, maximum 30 Lucent, what are you gonna make, like a few hundred Lucent? That's really nothing, okay? So that's really the extra steps you can make to earn Lucent in the game. And it's fine, okay? If you just create the action house to use Solant, and all these other methods would be either useless, or you could just, I don't know, maybe you can just convert them a little bit, just rework the whole thing. Because honestly, I understand that there's psychology behind all that, and you're looking for the big whales to spend a lot of money. But let's be real. Let's talk psychology, right? It's all about making money. I totally understand that. But let's put it this way. If you have a lot of people playing the game, and only you're focusing only on a couple of them, only on the big whales, let's put them this way. The people that spend a lot of money, sure, in the beginning, they'll just, for some reason, there are such people that like to spend a lot of real money on a game and, just shit on everybody else, But the majority of the players you have, as usual, because it's a free-to-play game, they'll be free to play, right? They're not going to spend much money, if they even spend any money on the game. So eventually they'll lose interest in the game because they'll feel like there is a huge segregation in the community. So you have the big whales, the players that just spend a lot of money, and guess what? Just like every other game before, they will play the game for a little bit. Sure, they're gonna spend a lot of money, and you're gonna earn. But in the long run, this game is actually going to die in only like maybe not even a year. Let's be real. And because of that, a lot of the free-to-play players will also lose interest because they'll feel like they're constantly in a rush trying to race with others, because you create the environment where these whales can just progress extremely fast, and all the other people will feel like their time is worthless and they're really not going to spend much time playing the game. And if they lose interest, if all the free-to-play players quit the game, not much after that, not long after that, the whales, the pay-to-win players, will also leave, because they will have the whole incentive for them to play the game is if they can compare their overpowered stats to others who are way below them. I mean, generally speaking, if you're pay-to-win player, then you must have some sort of a disorder. No offense here, but just something to compensate from real life. And that's how you want to compare yourself to somebody else who doesn't pay a lot of money, so you dominate them. But if you don't have that, if you don't have the free-to-play players, then the whales will also leave, because again, they have nothing to compare to. And if they leave, then eventually you have a dead game, which, in the long run, let's put it this way. You may be thinking, I don't know the numbers, but you might be thinking that you can earn a lot of money in 1 year and then just shut down the game. And you may think that this is better, but personally, I believe that if you try to maintain the game for many years, let's say a decade, it's going to be more profitable in the long run. But that's just me. You got the numbers, you do what you want. So that's it for the Action House. Another thing I wanted to talk about is basically tax delivery, which is pretty much very connected to Solant and Lucent, but it's a little bit different, right? So that's one of these events that you can play with a whole bunch of guilds and all that. It's like a massive PvP stuff going on from Vienta village. You're basically delivering massive chests to Stone Guard. So one part of the players of the guilds will be defending this, and the other will be trying to destroy it. So that's an interesting thing on its own. It's a pretty good concept. However, so if we look at this, actually, you can check this one here. So it says that tax and Lucent as well. So that's over 600 million Solant and about 6,000 Lucent. That's not much anyway. And it's going to change over time. At first, it was way more. That's going to be distributed between the winning players. So, however, the losing guilds are not going to earn anything. So that's one thing. Basically, from what I see, the environment in Throne and Liberty allows for monopoly. What I mean by that is that that is related directly to the pay-to-win concept, that you can just have massive pre-made guilds that are all pay-to-win, and obviously they're going to dominate the whole major events in the game. And all the other guilds will always be losing. And Obviously, that's another thing that just segregates the communities in the game. But the biggest problem comes from the fact that you got 0-1 ratio. Basically, the winners take everything and the losers are nothing, which, sure, it's realistic in real life, but in a video game, it's pretty annoying. And again, the players are coming to play the game to have fun. If you are dominated constantly and you're in such environment, it's like a toxic environment, really unhealthy environment, hostile, you're never gonna win anything. And again, if players lose interest, the game loses reputation and eventually dies out. So a very good concept, like in many modern video games, is, again, I give an example, Guild Wars 2. In PvP, you have ranked system and you have like different progression towards some rewards. So the winners usually earn about 3/4, basically like 75% of the winning pool, and the losers take like 25%. What I mean by that is, like, let's put it this way. You have like progression pips or points. So the winner takes like 10 points and the losers take like 3 points, for instance. They don't earn nothing. They still earn something, but it's way less. It's like 3 times less than the winner. This means that even if you lose, you still make some progress. So you eventually, it's like a pity counter, right? You eventually still win something, but it's going to take you way more time if you're just losing. This way, it's going to slightly mitigate the pay to win factor. So eventually the free to play players will also be able to catch up to others, just a bit slower, right? What I mean by that is, if you have the stacks here, let's say the winners, we just calculate just roughly, okay? The winner should take like 450 million Solant and about 4,500 Lucent. And the losers should take the rest, which is actually is not that much, because you'll be looking at hundreds of players, not thousands. I mean, it's per server, generally speaking, I think. So if you have like, let's say 1,000 people, 1,000 winners, 1,000 losers, you split 150 million Solant for the 1,000 losers, for the 1,000, well, not losers, let's just put it this way, the losing team, right? Losing side. So 1,000 or 150 million, that's like 150,000 Solant per player, which is not much, honestly. And for Lucent is actually even less. But it's still something, right? So that's another thing I just wanted to talk about, that I believe it can make the game a bit more fair to everybody. I understand that there is psychology behind all that. I understand that, you know, big corporations are trying to make a lot of money. But again, it's in everybody's interest, because if the game dies very soon, you're not going to make a lot of money and people will be disappointed. Again, from another big MMO that came out. And if I have to be honest, Throne of Liberty seems to have good potential. I enjoy the game. It looks interesting. It looks cool. It is a bit grindy, but you know, most games are, and it's not. I've seen way worse. So I believe that a couple of small tweaks like that can make the game work very well. So yeah, those are like a couple of my suggestions, really. So basically, the work of the Action House, which is pretty straightforward, and Siege War have 25% go to the losing team and 75% goes to the winning team. So with that being said, there's another thing I wanted to talk about. It's basically, that's not really something that the devs should take into account. It's really just some advice for new players. I have the non-popular opinion, I think I've said that before, that Throne of Liberty is specific games when it comes to classes. As you can see, you don't have actual classes. When you create your character, you're just creating like the visuals and all that. You don't pick any class. Your class is dedicated by the weapons you use, and you can use any weapon right there. So you have all these weapons here. So a lot of people say that you should pick one class and just go all the way, which is true. Yeah, you should focus on one class if possible. However, let's just say you want to change something out. You want to try a new class, maybe a new build. Now, what I see that the game gives you only 2 character slots, which means it's an indication that it's not a out-friendly game. You're not supposed to make like 10 different classes and everything. I believe you should focus on one character that can basically be the one and only, right? You can have any build, any role inside of this character, and you see that you only have three presets here. Same goes for the armor preset, which you see it's just different armor preset. It's not much, but I believe eventually they'll just add even more. So what I think, if you want to change, don't just convert. People say convert your skills and your weapon masters and all that. Whenever you do this, basically you're just scrapping the whole thing that you just played. And then if you want to go back, you have to convert again. And if you just convert your skills, that's even worse, because converting the weapon, let's just say you use one weapon mastery conversion thing, whatever it is. I assume it's just one per weapon, right? But imagine you're changing the skills. Oh, you have a bunch of skills here, passives and actives. If you just change, let's say you change 10 of these and 10 of these, that's like 20 maybe. Let's say for a whole new build, you're going to have to change at least 20 skills, maybe even more. And imagine you do this every single time, and eventually you're going to get tired, and this is going to exhaust you, right? My advice, and I know that some of you are not going to like it, but I believe that it's way better in the long run. If you're planning to play Throne of Liberty for a long time, you should play with one class, obviously. But if you want to change, then just go straight for it. Don't convert anything, right? Imagine you're just starting out a new class, but actually you do only half the work because you already done a lot of the things. You don't have to repeat them. You just need to go from somewhere a bit backwards, because you're going to be a bit weak when you swap to new weapons and skills and all that, and just play it from there, right? You can still basically preset yourself by gearing up, getting some of the things before that, and you can even swap to a new build and have it almost as equally developed as your previous one. And what that means is it's going to be slower at first, but later you're going to have 2 completely different builds, which means you'll be able to fill 2 different roles in a MMORPG game, which is pretty decent on its own. So later you'll be able to have more access to different content. You'll be just more versatile and be able to play different things. It's gonna be slower, of course, but the main argument I hear about this is that you're constantly racing with others, and this is gonna slow you down, and you're gonna... Well, again, if the game is good, there'll always be new players coming in. So it doesn't matter if you fall behind some people, you still have other people to play with. And if the game is bad and there are no new players, then it will die anyway. So again, it doesn't matter if you rush. So just play the game, have fun, don't think about the rushing thing. If you do it in a more optimal way, eventually you have a fully built character that can do a lot of things on its own. You're gonna have multiple builds and all that. It's gonna take more time, but imagine playing World of Warcraft and you want to try, let's say, 5 classes. That means you're gonna have to fully level up all these 5 different characters. And we all know World of Warcraft is generally grindy. I don't know about the more recent games, but let's just put it this way, it's grindy. You can do the same thing in Throne of Liberty, but it's gonna take you actually less time, because you're gonna skip a lot of the leveling process. So you're gonna have access to all the endgame stuff on a completely new class. So I believe this is way better. This is my approach, and I would probably do it this way if I change my my build. But yeah, you can take it or leave it. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just it's my opinion. You can do whatever you want. I hope the devs of Throne of Liberty, so Amazon Games as well, and NCSoft will listen to those things. And I believe this is not just my opinion. A lot of people share the same opinion about the game, the action house, and the tax delivery and things like that. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and see you soon.